Hello, today we will see what is consumer's equilibrium, what is its meaning, how is it determined. Before that, I just want to point out consumer's behavior once more. We are talking about a rational consumer. A rational consumer is one who wants to maximize his satisfaction while consuming a commodity or a service, many commodities or many services. So, in this world there are many consumers, numberless consumers. Every moment consumption of one good or the other, one service or the other is going on. So, what is the aim of every consumer? You might have heard people say while spending money, it is worth the rupee. I went to that shop, purchased a dress. Today I watched a movie. It is worth the money I spent. Worth the money. That means every consumer, while spending each and every penny from his pocket, he or she wants maximum satisfaction. So when they get the benefit, this benefit is termed as utility. What is the benefit? The satisfaction. If they get the benefit, if the consumer gets the benefit, he won't regret. There is no regret. Otherwise, there will be regret to the consumer. That means the consumer will sure say that it is not worth the money I spent. So will he go for that same service or good again? No, it is very doubtful. So here, as you know, consumer's behavior is rational. Every consumer, when he spends a single rupee, wants utility. So that is the main point we are discussing today. When we mention this utility, what is the level of satisfaction a consumer achieves by consuming a commodity, a good or service? So nowadays in the market, every seller, whether selling a service or good, is competing with each other in order to improve the quality of the product, in order to meet the consumer's requirements, and while we do the online shopping or anywhere in the social media, you can now read the customer reviews regarding particular commodities and services. And in many reviews we can read sometimes, yeah, it is worth the rupee we spent, go for it. Sometimes we read, no, it's not worth the money. So all these are influencing the consumer, but ultimately whatever opinions other consumers say, however the social group or advertisement, whatever is trying to influence a consumer, ultimately when that particular consumer buys the commodity and uses it only, he or she can say whether he or she is deriving this utility satisfaction. So that is one point. Main thing we have to understand about a rational consumer. The consumer wants to derive maximum satisfaction. So where the consumer will decide to stop consuming the commodity, or where is the equilibrium achieved? Equilibrium, the position of rest, is achieved. This is what we are going to see. So a consumer, as you know, many consumers are there, consumer A, B, C, D, E, many consumers. And in the first chapter, I have already mentioned regarding the problems faced in the economy. What is that? Limited income, limited resource and unlimited wants. So think about a consumer, single consumer or two consumers with limited income and prices of the commodity. The consumer has to choose between the commodities and services the economy is offering them. Why the consumer has to choose? Because his income is limited. As you can see here, every consumer has a limited income. So the assumption of while we are studying consumer's equilibrium, The two main assumptions are the income is remaining constant and prices of the commodities also remaining constant. Based on that, we are studying this theory. So, if the income is limited, say 10,000 rupees for a family or a consumer, that consumer has numberless wants here. You can see I have selected only a few. It is not like yesterday years. Nowadays, the needs are different compared to the years before. That means yesterday years. So, a consumer has to pay for food, clothing, the necessities, then pay for education if there are children, then pay for fuel, because most of the families have two-wheeler and four-wheelers nowadays. Then if the family has taken loan, if the consumer has to pay the loan, that also to be counted. Then internet, then health. What about health? For that an amount is to be kept aside. Then what about banking service? So many services are there. If the person has an insurance scheme, then he has to pay from the same income. From the same income, the consumer is paying for different wants. So he has to choose. So many goods and services are available in the economy, and with the limited income and prices of the goods or service, a consumer is supposed to choose. He will choose only that combination of commodities or a commodity which gives him that satisfaction benefit. So this is the main point while we are discussing consumer's equilibrium. So, and this money, as I have mentioned, alternative uses, money income, it has alternative uses. What are the alternative uses? It can be used for several uses. Can be paid, the same money is paid for education or food or clothing. So with that limited income, how it is to be spent depends on utility satisfaction, and it is subjective, it is relative. Subjective, that is, it differs from person to person. If one good or service is giving me satisfaction, the another consumer may not find it that satisfactory. So he may prefer any other commodity or service. So it depends. It differs from person to person, time to time, place to place. Okay, and so now we are moving on to consumer's equilibrium. So this is to be kept in mind while we are learning consumer's equilibrium. What is it? The basic nature of a rational consumer. What is it? He wants to achieve maximum satisfaction. Okay, his income is remaining constant and price of the commodity also remaining constant. So now, as we move on to consumer's equilibrium, you know, we are going to see the two approaches to consumer's equilibrium. What is it? Consumer's equilibrium can be studied as an ordinal utility approach and cardinal utility approach. So, cardinal utility and ordinal utility. These two ways we can learn consumer's equilibrium. And cardinal utility developed by Alfred Marshall, ordinal utility by Hicks and Allen. And you know, cardinal utility is measured in numbers, it is measurable. Okay, and ordinal utility is ranking. What is a ranking? if you are consuming two commodities, how do you prefer one commodity to the other? Two commodities A and B, you may have 1 unit of commodity A, 2 units of commodity B, vice versa. So that way you may prefer one commodity to the other. So first we are going to learn cardinal utility approach to consumers equilibrium. So cardinal utility developed by Alfred Marshall. According to Marshall and his followers, utility is measured in utils. Utility is measured in utils. Then what is the nature of utility? When one extra unit is consumed, what is its nature? So, if units consumed of commodity X is 1, marginal utility gained from that commodity may be 10. One more unit is consumed. What happens to marginal utility? This we have learned already. It diminishes. With the second unit, it diminishes. The assumption is that consumption is continuous. There is no break. Then unit consumed 3 increases. The marginal utility falls to 4. Then one more unit. The marginal utility may be 2. Then 5. 0. Then one more unit of consumption means it becomes negative. Okay, so law of diminishing marginal utility prevails here. Law of diminishing marginal utility prevails. That means this law, that also you have learned in the previous module. So the nature of satisfaction, that is when it was 1 unit of consumption, utility was 10 utils, marginal utility expressed in utils, 10 utils, second unit consumption. So what is the utility here? That is the utility gained from every successive units goes on decreasing. You can take the fine example of having water while you are thirsty. If you are thirsty, first glass of water gives you satisfaction, but second water, the satisfaction is less compared to the first glass of water. That way it goes on decreasing. Then it becomes 0, then negative. Okay, so the 50 unit is not giving any satisfaction at all. That point in the previous module you have learned, that point is called the point of satiety, point of saturation. The consumer is not getting any satisfaction at all. So if he consumes one more glass, the utility will be negative. Now the question is how the consumer is behaving regarding spending the money for the commodity. First we will see a single commodity. Equilibrium means the position of no change, and the price of the commodity and the benefit deriving by spending each and every penny from the pocket of a consumer. How he gets that benefit, what is his feeling, psychological satisfaction, because he will purchase a commodity, he will purchase and use a commodity if he gets benefit. Otherwise he will ignore the good or service. He won't consume any more unit of that particular commodity. So, if that is the situation, if he is comparing the price he pays and the utility derived, we have to take two terms, that is, one is price of the commodity and utility derived by the consumer by consuming an extra unit of a commodity. If the consumer is not getting any satisfaction, he will not consume any more unit of that commodity. So we have to keep in mind he is consuming successive units of the commodity. Okay, and here I have selected 6 units of a particular commodity. And what is the assumption? You remember the assumption? Price remains constant, income of the consumer remaining constant. So price is 6 at all levels. And what is the utility gained? Here law of diminishing marginal utility prevails. This also we have learned. What is law of diminishing marginal utility? While a consumer is consuming a commodity continuously, the satisfaction derived from each and every successive units goes on decreasing. So you can see here first unit 15 utils, marginal utility or utility is expressed in terms of utils. 15 utils, second unit 10 utils, then 6, 2, 0, minus 2. So it is diminishing. What about the price? Price remaining constant. Now how will we compare the utility and the price? So if a consumer is spending 10 rupees for a commodity, he feels that I have received maximum satisfaction. A person is getting service from, it can be from a bank, from a hospital, or while watching a movie. A person watches a movie and he says that, you might have heard many consumers always mention it is worth the money. After watching a movie, sometimes people say it is worth the money. So if that is the condition, satisfaction equal to price will be the position of consumer's equilibrium. That is MUX, marginal utility of the commodity, will be equal to price of the commodity. Okay, so this is the condition of consumer's equilibrium. Why? MUX, marginal utility of the commodity X, is equal to price of the commodity paid. If this is the condition of consumer's equilibrium, why? How can we determine this way? Because price of the commodity, it is in money terms. So how can we compare marginal utility with the money? So marginal utility is measured in utils, and utils should be expressed in terms of money. Now what is the condition by Alfred Marshall? The utility gain, the satisfaction gain should be expressed in terms of money. Then only this theory can be proved. So marginal utility of X is expressed in utils. How can we express that utils in terms of money? What is the satisfaction derived by consuming that unit of the commodity? It is expressed in money, means it is a ratio between the satisfaction gained and the money sacrificed. That is the, so what is the gain of the consumer? Gain of the consumer is the satisfaction, psychological satisfaction. And what is the unit sacrificed? That is money. So the ratio between the two, it is expressed as MUM, marginal utility of money. MU means marginal utility, that is here marginal utility of the commodity consumed by the consumer, MUX, divided by marginal utility of money. So this utility gain is expressed in terms of money. The ratio between the two should be equal to price of X. But we commonly say MUX is equal to PX. In order to prove that, how the price which is expressed in money terms, it can be 1000 rupees. How can we compare that psychological satisfaction with the price? So this is the way Alfred Marshall proves the theory. That is, the utility gain, the satisfaction gain, it should be expressed in terms of money. marginal utility MUX by MUM. It should be equal to price of the commodity. Now we will see how can we prove it. In the first unit, marginal utility 15, price remains same, and here we can give one example. 1 rupee is equal to 1 util. Okay. If 1 rupee is equal to 1 util, what is that 1 util? Marginal utility of money is equal to 1 rupee. Imagine. So, in that case, MUX by MUM should be equal to price. Okay. So, MUX is equal to price or MUX by MUM is equal to price is the condition. So, here MUX 15, price is 6. MUX 10, price is 6. Marginal utility 6 utils, price is 6 rupees. Marginal utility 2 utils, price is constant 6 rupees. 0, then here 6. Utility negative, price remaining same. Now, one condition is that MUX is equal to price, that is at the third unit. One more condition is to be satisfied. What is that? MUX by MUM is equal to price. MUX, what is marginal utility 15 and marginal utility of money is equal to 1 rupee. So 15 by 1. 1 rupee is equal to 1 util. So 15 by 1, 15. Then marginal utility 10. 10 by 1, 10. 6 by 1, 6. 2 by 1, 2. 0 by 1, 0. Minus 2 by 1, minus 2. So, it is at the third unit you can see MUX is equal to price of the commodity. Price of the commodity. And MUX by MUM is equal to price. Okay? Or MUX by PX should be equal to MUM. When we write it another way, MUX by PX is equal to marginal utility of money. Now we will see consumer's equilibrium for two commodities. Before that, why MUX is equal to PX? What are the other two conditions? Here, at the first unit and second unit, forget about the 3, 4, 5, 6 units. First and second unit, how you can assess this satisfaction and price of the commodity? Here, marginal utility is greater than price. So, whatever the consumer is spending, he is ready to spend again, or he is ready to spend, he is ready to consume more, one more unit, because the satisfaction derived by the consumer is more than, he feels so, is more than the price paid. Second unit, utility declines, but still utility is greater than price. Here, marginal utility of X is equal to price. Now what happens? Marginal utility, the satisfaction derived by the consumer is less than price. Here also utility less than price. Here also the same condition, marginal utility less than price, it is negative. Okay, so where is the position of rest? The equilibrium achieved, that is at the third unit where MUX is equal to PX. For the exam also you have to write MUX is equal to PX, and this also you can mention MUX by MUM is equal to price. That also you can write, but the main way is MUX is equal to PX is the equilibrium condition for a single commodity. Why? What is the main reason for this? Or how is this balance achieved? this balance, that is MUX is equal to price of X or MUX by MUM is equal to price of X. How is this balance achieved? Let us check the first and second unit. What happens here? Here the consumer is increasing his consumption from the first unit to the second unit. He is increasing consumption. So decreasing satisfaction. Law of diminishing marginal utility. Decreasing satisfaction, decreasing marginal utility. So that is when the consumption increases from 1 to 2, the satisfaction or utility derived decreases. Okay, 15 to 10. Consumption increases from first unit to second unit. One more unit is consumed. Satisfaction or utility decreases. What about here? 4, 5, 6 units. Here also, when the consumption increases from 4 to 5, 5 to 6, utility or satisfaction decreases and becomes negative. So, here, if the consumption is decreased, if the consumption is less, what will happen to utility? Satisfaction will rise. This is the way the balance will be created. That is, when consumption increases from 1 to 2, the satisfaction or utility decreases from 15 to 10. Then reaches where the third level, where satisfaction is equal to price. If this is the situation beyond this equilibrium, if consumer increases his consumption from 4 to 5, 5 to 6, same situation. So what will he do? According to cardinal utility theory, regarding consumer's equilibrium for single commodity, how will the consumer try to achieve maximum satisfaction? For that, he has to reduce the consumption. So when consumption reduces 6 to 5, 5 to 4, utility will come up from negative 2 to 0, 0 to 2, 2 to 6. If consumption increases, utility will decrease 15 to 10, 10 to 6. So these 1 and 2 units of consumption, 4, 5, 6 units of consumption is not the level of equilibrium. So next we are going to see consumer's equilibrium in case of two commodities. In case of single commodity, we know MUX is equal to price of X is the condition for consumer's equilibrium. That I have already explained. Now we are going to see what is consumer's equilibrium condition in case of more than one commodity. And for here, law of Equi marginal utility, we are going to see how equilibrium of two commodities is determined. Okay, law of Equi marginal utility explains the equilibrium, maximum satisfaction achieved by a consumer by consuming two commodities. That is more than one commodity. It can be 2 or 3 or 4. But here only two commodities are taken. And this law is called Gauss's second law. Gauss's first law is law of diminishing marginal utility, and this is Gauss's second law. And German economist Gaussen, he has developed this cardinal utility theory, law of diminishing marginal utility, law of Equi marginal utility, and this law is systematically organized and explained by Alfred Marshall. So usually, normally we say that it is Alfred Marshall's theory, but actually it is Gaussen's second law. That this theory is first developed by Gaussen. And then here we are going to see consumer's equilibrium more than one commodity. Then while we are discussing consumer's equilibrium, we often say the consumer is a rational consumer. That his aim is to maximize satisfaction by consuming, by allocating his limited income among different needs. Okay, so we often say a consumer, because you are studying microeconomics, microeconomic concept, not macroeconomics. not the entire economy, not the economy as a whole, but about a consumer, a producer. Okay, so or two consumers. It is a micro concept. So here we are going to see the consumer's equilibrium achieved by a consumer when he allocates his limited income among different commodities. So what all things are to be kept in mind while calculating consumer's equilibrium in case of two commodities or regarding law of equi-marginal utility? First thing is that consumer is a rational consumer. He wants maximum satisfaction. When he is spending money, if he is not getting satisfaction by consuming that particular commodity, so he won't go for that commodity again if it is not deriving any satisfaction. He is spending from his income, so he will count the satisfaction derived from consuming different commodities. Why? His income is limited. So we are discussing about consumer's equilibrium more than one commodity, and we have to see, we know, already you know, consumers' wants are unlimited and he has to meet that unlimited wants with the limited resource, that is the income. Income of the consumer is given and it is constant, that is the assumption. It is not changing, constant. Then prices of the commodities are given and this price is also constant. If he is consuming 3 commodities or 4 commodities, the price of that commodities is remaining constant and the consumer is very much aware of the prices of the commodities. So he can better choose among his needs. Then marginal utility. Another assumption is that marginal utility of money is constant. What is MUM? Marginal utility of money. This also I have already explained. If MUX is equal to price of X in case of single commodity, or in case of two commodities, we are comparing marginal utility and price. We are going to compare marginal utility and price. So if price is expressed in terms of money, price means we are paying in money. So the satisfaction derived by consuming the commodity, which is measured in utils, that also to be expressed in money. This is one condition. The utility to be expressed in money, that example is also given. So the assumption is that MUM is remaining constant. Marginal utility of money is remaining constant. It is not changing. Then consumer spends his entire income on the commodity selected. So he is spending his entire income on the commodities he choose. He select and consume. Okay. The utility is measurable because we are talking about cardinal utility. We are discussing cardinal utility approach towards consumer's equilibrium, and the assumption is that cardinal utility is measurable in terms of money. Then this law is based on law of diminishing marginal utility, that is Gossen's first law of diminishing marginal utility. When a consumer is consuming successive units of a commodity, the satisfaction or utility derived from each and every successive units goes on decreasing. Okay, now law of equi-marginal utility is also called law of substitution. It is also called law of proportionality. It is also called law of maximum satisfaction. Why? This I can explain through a numerical example, and we have to see how a consumer is choosing different combinations of two commodities so that he is getting maximum satisfaction.